just 45 minutes from here, deep in the Santa Cruz Mountains, 18,000 acres of protected, undeveloped land sits in Big Basin State Park. The area, once home to the Cotoni and the Quiroste tribes, is the oldest state park in the state of California. Established in 1902, it's home to the oldest swath of old-growth redwoods south of San Francisco. Redwoods have been growing in Big Basin for 20 million years. Some of the park's awesome trees are nearly 2,000 years old and stretch 300 feet into the air. The trees, in Latin, are called sempervirens, meaning evergreen, ever living. No doubt many of you have made pilgrimages to Big Basin, strolling the redwood-shaded trails while straining your neck looking at the ancient trees. For many, Big Basin is an introduction to the majesty of the redwoods. As John Steinbeck writes in Travels with Charlie, the redwoods, once seen, leave a mark or create a vision that stays with you always. From them comes silence and awe. It's not only their unbelievable stature, nor the color which seems to shift and vary under your eyes. No, they are not like any tree we know. They are ambassadors from another time. Redwood trees survive in a remarkable way. Their roots actually do not go deep into the ground, only a few feet at most. Rather, their roots grow wide, stretching out sideways as far as 100 feet to connect with other trees. It's the reason most majestic redwoods stand as groves. The interweaving of roots help the redwood provide stability and stand wonderfully straight. Even after a redwood tree has died, it can stand straight as part of a grove for hundreds of years. In this period of Yizkor, we know it's hard when a member of our grove passes. The person who provided stability and who could stand so straight. This hour of Yizkor arrives without welcome for us, especially with the dawning of a new year, because it attests unapologetically to time's passing. For some of us, we arrive at this service on Yom Kippur afternoon, holding in our hearts a person who passed a long time ago. Yet Yizkor never fails to affirm how real their absence in our lives have become. To others, Yizkor is newer. A loved one has passed away in the past year, and the grief is unsettling and raw. This year, their absence may even feel harder, as we are not in a room of others. Rather, we are gathered in this strange way. We cannot reach out our hands to loved ones. We do not see the tears and hear the sniffles around the vast room. This year, we are forced to gather virtually to say Kaddish. The hardest words utter mourning and grief compounded by isolation. One of the prayers we know is the words of the 23rd Psalm. It is recited at every funeral, and it's here in our Yom Kippur Machzor. It's actually translated in 4 different ways. Perhaps no other prayer but the Kaddish itself is as inseparable from our experience of grief and mourning than Psalm 23. Adonai roi lo echsar. Adonai is my shepherd. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. First, the poet reminds us that we can and we will walk through the dark valley that is death and grief. Yet despite our pain, we will not stay in the darkness eternally. Over time, sometimes so very slowly, we find a way out of the shadow and back to the light. Our prayer book teaches that Psalm 23 does not make promises that cannot be kept. It does not promise the end of evil, the eradication of suffering and pain, sunshine instead of shadows. Rather, what Psalm 23 provides, what Yizkor provides, is the knowledge that we are not alone. Out of the valley of the shadow of death comes the knowledge that goodness and loving kindness and memory will follow us all the days of our lives. As you know, fire came to Big Basin last month. Lightning strikes caused an inferno that scorched much of the park. Many of the physical structures were destroyed. It's likely the park will not reopen to visitors again for another year. Yet there is hope after the fire. Redwoods are resilient trees, known for their regrowth in fire, even from burned over crowns and tops. They can send out new growth from the burned top and create a new canopy structure over time. Already, just weeks after the Santa Cruz Mountain fire, new redwood sprouts have emerged from the worst hit areas, from the basal burl tissues around the base of each redwood. These tissues act as a seed bank, and fire releases the seeds to ensure regeneration. By next year, we should see a lot of new sprouts growing out of the burned canopy along the trunk. There will also be a lot of new growth coming up on the forest floor this coming spring, and a return of wildlife in mass with this new growth. While there is much loss after a fire, we can look to nature for signs of hope and resiliency. If you've ever walked in a redwood grove, you've seen the sight of the burned insides of redwood trees from past fires centuries ago. Some of them are so large you can walk inside of the tree. It's an amazing feeling, looking up at the noble tree. The scars are there, but the tree remains part of her grove. Standing straight, the tree lives and grows. Eli, Eli can be found on page 540.
Rishus shel
This is the hour of memory, and this is our house of comfort. Wounded by loss, we retreat from life. Our synagogue gathers us in. Into this place we bring stories and prayers, unanswered questions, tears that need to be shed. Lives recollected and carried within us, moments of courage and laughter and pain. This day embraces them all. This place embraces us all. Now the heart opens in sorrow, for we are time's subjects, and all that we love we must lose. So let us hold fast to the love that remains and cherish the light of the sun. Today all of us walk the mourner's path. Together may we find strength. Page 546. As the number 7 is a Jewish symbol of wholeness and holiness, our Yizkor service offers 7 ways to reflect on loss and memory, grief and healing. We choose, alone and together, from among these diverse lights.
Our days, like the grass of the field, like flowers in the meadow, vanish in a momentary gust of wind, gone, never to be seen again. But God's love is infinite and with us forever. God's goodness reaches far into the future. This is the gift of the covenant. Page 544. Sheviti Adonai linegdi tamid ki mimini balemut lachen samach libi vayagel kevodi af besari ishkon lavetach.
548. At birth, a miracle, you light the spark in every human soul. Emerging into light, we breathe it in, the neshama, your sacred gift of life. And every day, every breath comes to us as a miracle. The light within us, unique and precious, is with us always while we live. When breath has ceased and life has gone, the neshama returns to you. And the spark that lived inside the ones we love, unique and precious, beautiful and good, is theirs no more. Their light is ours, their radiance now burns in us, eternal flame of memory. So we light candles to keep our love alive, to bring their light into the world, a light unique and precious, ours to treasure while we live, a ner tamid that lights our days and gives us strength to journey through the night. 549, the first candle on the loss of loved ones. Next page. We die despite appointments and feuds, while our toddler, who has recently learned to say no, opens and shuts drawers 100 times a day, and our team braces for the rapids of romance. We die despite the contracts and business trips we planned, while our desk is untidy, despite a long list of things to do, which we keep simmering like a rich broth. We die despite work we cherish, marrying whom we love, piling up a star-spangled fortune, basking on the Riviera of fame, and achieving that human participle with no known object.